Recently, there's been a lot of discussion about how Storiel's current endgame is too difficult, and people have been saying that since Honkai Star Rail is a turn-based gacha game, it quite literally has no skill expression among Hoyo vs games. While I did have quite a couple chuckles while reading various posts, I found that it gets quite heated in there, so I wanted to chip in. When people say gamer skill, they typically mean micro. Micro is the dexterous APM checks that we see in adrenaline-filled games like shooters and MOBAs. But the thing is, even in those genre of games, there are still tons of knowledge checks and a lot of reading that you must do to express skill, which is commonly referred to as macro. And we all know how much gacha players hate reading. An example of this is knowing when to hold a corner in a tactical shooter, or knowing what items to build to counter a matchup in a MOBA, or knowing when to take objectives. For example, building anti-heal against teams with 2 or more significant healers. The funny thing is that knowledge checks in the middle of battle still exists in Star Rail. To give you an example of how this is put into action is in Pure Fiction. I kept holding Himiko's ultimate so that each enemy would take damage from the fire break dot, and so that the ultimate not only breaks their toughness, but also advances their action from the current cycle buff. And then they will take the break dot again. If I didn't consistently do this, my clear would have been around 10k points lower, which wouldn't allow me to full clear. This is present in a lot of fights too. Holding ultimates for aventurine gambling, or pausing the game to let Serval's talent proc so that you can immediately use your ultimate. Ulting early, ulting late, timing your ult before an enemy's action like Yun Li, cutting into an enemy's action to maximize delays, managing SP, deciding between healing your team or bursting your enemy. There's still so much tech I haven't mentioned, but you get the idea. Now I know that you might say that those types of techs are niche and only applicable in specific situations. To which I say, yeah, you're right about it being niche, but squeezing every little advantage you can get can easily be the difference between being able to clear or having your team get wiped. Another common sentiment that I hear is that the HP bloat is ruining the game and that the content is way too hard, in which both of those statements are indeed true. But the situation is a little more complex than just mere number inflation. Look up Honkai Star. You know what? Cut that bit. We've seen the HP total steadily rise. However, I think that this problem is mainly present in MOC, since that game mode is genuinely just a DPS check. Both Pure Fiction and Apocalyptic Shadow have extremely impactful buffs that you can play around with. I've been clearing Pure Fiction mainly using Himiko and tossing whatever scraps I have on the second side. Just like I mentioned, a lot of weird janky team comps have started to pop up on recent clears like Serval Hypercarry and Chiyi Break. Sure, they still have limited supports, but harmonies run this game, and that's also another video. The entire topic of HP bloat and content difficulty needs an entire video talking about it. With that said, if you're enjoying the content so far, please subscribe as I have 2 other videos lined up tackling the deepest issues of this game. I give in-depth analyses of turn-based games, and I'm sure you won't be disappointed as I deliver these last zingers. Full planning and relic farming requires skill. Sure, there's a lot of luck involved in pulling for characters and rolling relics, but as time goes on, it should typically even out. I've been full clearing MOC since 1.1, and I've had absolutely abhorrent luck until recently, so much so that I've been in the bottom 10 to 2% of players in terms of 5-star limited luck. But even so, I started planning my pulls out with the assumption that I hit at least 70 pity and lose every 50-50. That way, I won't be disappointed, and I won't base my plans to clear MOC without guarantees. Now, knowing which characters to pull and when is something that's definitely on a case-by-case basis, which is why I frequently upload those pull planning videos and respond to every comment. I invested in Monoquantum early, and when that didn't pan out, I invested in Dr. Ratio and Firefly afterwards. Now, I'm planning to get the Herta E2 after saving 3 whole patches so that she can consistently clear Pure Fiction for me. Your account will most likely look different to mine, but you can apply similar ideas to yours. And there are lots of people willing to help you in the Star Rail community. The main post that instigated this video is this one, where it says that you need 4 limited units to be able to clear. This isn't necessarily true, as pulling the top tier units can slash that around too. Which leads me to my next point. I know that people are disgruntled by the fact that you have to be pulling Aventurine, Firefly, and all the other top tier units to slash down your limited costs. I know that a lot of people really want to clear with their waifus or husbandos, even though they need more investment to match results with people who are more effective in the current patch. And trust me, I can understand. I really like Silverwolf, but her kit is somewhat dated, so I have to pull Sparkle's E2 to compensate. Sunday, who is a recent unit, kind of blows her out of the water, and I can guarantee that will happen for other units due to the nature of gacha games. One upside though is that newer players will be pulling for newer characters, which means the divide between veterans and newbies aren't that huge. Main point is, there are micro and macro skills that are present in Stariel, but the problems that Stariel is facing is much more complex than just HP bloat or power creep. But at the end of the day, who cares if you clear MOC or Abyss or Pew Defense anyway? These things only give 6 pulls, and like, the bragging rights only exist if you let it. I mean, we're all pulling for PNG waifus anyway, so it's like, we're all losers here, man. Anyway, I full cleared everything this patch, so I'm awesome. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week where I'll be discussing the horrible enemy design of Stariel. Tell me what you think, and hopefully we can start some discourse in the comments. Peace.